Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening. The time is 9 p.m.
Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KFI-TDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org, look for tonight's announcement, and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we will continue to do that too, over air and Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, discussion topic of the evening, was up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 rounds. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We currently have the following people checked in via w5fc.org. KE5ICX, Tom, Corpus Christi on All-Star. K5MCV, Cody, Dallas, Texas on the Big Blue Marble over air radio. WD5DPX, Bobby at Wills Point. As he's on Echolink, I didn't see him over there. Maybe he'll come back. Myself, KF5TDS, Billy and Sherman on Echolink. KF5JHA, Chaz, and Bob the Cat. Milky Way, Sun, Soul, Planet Earth, multiple modes. WD5OZL, Brenda, Dallas on Echolink. N5LIG, Dale in Little Elm over air radio. And N5DB Bell in Irving on the radio. All right, let's go to, I'm going to try to do check-ins, and I know Bill, N5DB, and Tom said Tony, N25TM would also back me up on relays. So if I miss somebody, or if you hear somebody that I don't hear, please feel free to chime in with that relay. So let's start round one with short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening.
Alpha Bravo 5 Delta Mike, Dustin in Dallas.
I got Alpha Bravo 5 Delta Mike Dustin in Dallas. Are there any other short time check-ins? Please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening. Hearing any, so let's go ahead with general check-ins. And so for general check-ins, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT. Bill Garland.
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall, AG5 PM. This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, long time.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton. This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
I recognize those check-ins. That was a good round. W5BLT, Bill and Garland. AG5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall. WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, long time. Good to have you with us, Ted. KT5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton. And W5GUS, Gus in far northeast Dallas. Do we have any more general check-ins? If so, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Sorry, Robert, I missed getting your call sign. Robert Richardson, if you could give me your call sign again, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it's Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel.
Copy that. Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. Thank you. Do we have any other general check-ins? So let's move over to Echo Link. If you'd like to check in via voice, there's some more over here on the sheet that I'll catch here in just a moment. Let me go ahead and just do those before I do Echo Link. So there's KU5JIT, Randy, Corpus Christi on Echo Link. I'll give you a chance to check in via voice on Echo Link here in just a moment. NV5F, Virginia, Fort Worth on the radio, and N5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Mesquite, online on YouTube. Hey, Chaz mentioned in the chat he's going to have some really good images tonight on YouTube, so if you can, get over to YouTube as well. All right, moving over to Echolink. If there's anyone on Echolink that has not checked in yet, or if you've checked in but you'd like to give a shout out over voice, please do so now and I'll give you extra time. So Echolink check-ins only, please.
So this is Kilo Echo 5, Julia India Tango, Brandon Corpus.
Thanks, Randy. It's good to hear you. The only one that's not checked in is KD5QLD Jimmy on Echolink, and I think everybody else that I see over on Echolink has checked in. So let's go to any mode. If there's anyone out there that would like to check in that didn't get in on an earlier round, please feel free to check in now. Just give me your name, call sign name, and where you're transmitting from. Any mode. Please come now with your call sign.
November 5, Bravo Kilo Lima, James, Dallas.
Bravo Kilo Lima, James, and Dallas. Welcome. So we'll do some further check-in rounds as the net goes on, but let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to all who have checked into Skynet. Let's go ahead with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These could be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed ham. So if you have an announcement, please come now with your call sign. Hearing any, so I'll go ahead with some other announcements. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You can check into the National AMSAT net, learn all about amateur satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You will need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. 2 local nets are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control as well as others checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9. Tuesdays, Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East on that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive. The DARC hosts a number of nets on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Check the w5fc.org website. This coming Monday, at 7 p.m. will be 4th week GeekNet, Geek Beyond Ham Radio. This Monday, Geek Out Beyond Ham Radio, we expand topics to include computers, science, space, news of the weird, and much more. No topic is off limits, just as long as it's geeky. Tony NT5TM is net control. Friday's CERT City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays are the Night of Nets, where we keep the airwaves buzzing until midnight. Here's the lineup. TechNet from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related. There's also a swap meet, Rookie's Corner, news and information, and ham radio events and contests. Alternating net control each week. And Skynet from 9 to 10:30. Astronomy, space, and space exploration are the topics. Also news and information, satellite passes, and the Constellation of the week. Join this popular net about ham's second most favorite hobby, astronomy. Alternating net controls. And after Skynet is the Afterglow movie net from 10:30 to midnight. Will it be a hit or the dreaded miss? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You make the call. We watch an assigned science fiction movie and then review it for about 90 minutes. We discuss plot, characterization, special effects, music, and answer the question, will I dare watch this movie ever again? Everyone is welcome to check in, even if you haven't seen the movie, which might actually be a plus. Daily is the ARRLNet National System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in as this is a training net. The NCS also net on the Irving WA5CKF repeater, that's Whiskey Alpha 5, Charlie Kilo Foxtrot repeater, 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. At this time is Afterglow info. Tom, KU5ICX, would you like to read tonight's Afterglow info?
Yes, Billy, I will. Tonight's Afterglow info, and highly accurate, I might add, is the following. Frederick Lauren was an avid Frank Lloyd Wright fan. So much so, he rented a house Wright designed and built. What he hated were real estate agents. These were people who would call him all hours of the night and day to buy his house. It was relentless. So he offered to sell his rented home to them. Being unscrupulous and without any moral turpitude, they agreed to visit him to look over the house. He even stated, "Stay the night and I'll sell the house to you." They agreed. But Lauren had other plans for his guests, listening to him drone all night long over condo timeshares in Bolivia. Join us for the classic Vincent Price movie, The House on Haunted Hill from 1959, I think, tonight at 10:30 p.m. That's it. Hope everybody had a chance to see the film. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. We currently have the following people check in via w5fc.org. You can go to the website, click on the hot link, and check into the net. So we have Kilo Golf 5, Oscar, Mike, Romeo, Marcia, and Dallas online on YouTube. Welcome, Marcia. I'll now take additional voice check-ins. So if you have not checked into this evening's net and would like to do so over air, please come now with your call sign and your name and where you're transmitting from. And so at this time, we'll move on to Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So at this time I will turn the net over to Chaz, KF5JHA from KF5PDS.
And you thought Halloween was scary. Turning the net over to Chaz is scary enough. Slide Master, slide number 1. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, November the 15th. We usually meet on the 4th Friday of the month, but that usually falls right after Thanksgiving, so we usually, in November, meet on the 3rd Friday. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured program is going to be a swap meet. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Tonight, on the 4th Saturday of the month, the stargazing used to be held in Rockwall, but due to lack of attendance, it's been canceled for the most part for right now. Now, you can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Now, just a warning for those of you on the air, if you can log into YouTube, the DARC Skynet YouTube channel, well, I'm going to be sharing some interesting pictures of different things that's happened over the last couple of weeks. So do that so you can see those pretty pictures. This is KF5JHA, Backdoor Net Control. Billy, it's yours.
Thank you, Chaz. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this section of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Bill, N5BD. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is N5BB. I happen to be the Vice President and Membership Director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. I can be reached at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location normally is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next meeting will be held in about 2 weeks on Sunday, November the 10th. The December meeting will be held at my house in Irving. It will be a Christmas party. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. Location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635, Irving, Texas, 75063. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The last Space Rendezvous was last night at Cheddar's Restaurant. We had 9 people there. The next Space Rendezvous will be held in about a month on Friday, November the 29th. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. That's the abbreviation for North Texas, ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Log in to Facebook and search for National Space Society of North Texas and request access. We don't have any local, most months we have some kind of local event at a museum or a library but we don't have any activities scheduled right now for the next few weeks. That's all I've got. This is N5BB, back to net control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And if you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill N5BB at his QRZ listed email address or at space@byrom.net, BYROM.net. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WB50ZL. The net is yours. F5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB50ZL. The report tonight is from Science Daily, and it's entitled Rocky Planets Orbiting Small Stars That Could Have Stable Atmospheres Needed to Support Life. Since its launch in late 2021, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has raised the possibility that we could detect signs of life on exoplanets or planets outside our solar system. Top candidates in this search are rocky, rather than gaseous planets orbiting low-mass stars called M-dwarfs, easily the most common stars in the universe. One nearby M-dwarf is TRAPPIST-1, a star about 40 light-years away that hosts a system of orbiting planets under intense scrutiny in the search for life on planets orbiting stars other than the Sun. Previous research questioned the habitability of planets orbiting TRAPPIST-1, finding the intense UV rays would burn away their surface water. That would leave the planet's surface desiccated, and if only the hydrogen part of the water molecules escapes, potentially with huge amounts of reactive oxygen that would inhibit the origin of life chemistry. Now, a University of Washington-led study recently published in Nature Communications finds that a sequence of events during the evolution of certain rocky planets orbiting M-dwarfs creates an atmosphere that would be stable over time. One of the most intriguing questions right now in exoplanet astronomy is, can rocky planets orbiting M-dwarf stars maintain atmospheres that would support life, said lead author Joshua Krisentoten, a UW Assistant Professor of Earth and Space Sciences. Our findings give reason to expect that some of these planets do have atmospheres, which significantly enhances the chances that these common planetary systems could support life. The James Webb Space Telescope is sensitive enough that it can observe a select few of these planetary systems. Data coming back so far suggests that the hottest rocky planets closest to the TRAPPIST-1 star do lack sufficient atmospheres, but the telescope has not yet been able to clearly characterize planets in the Goldilocks zone, slightly farther from their star, at a distance most favorable to support liquid water and life. The new study modeled a rocky planet through the course of its molten formation and cooling over hundreds of millions of years into a solid terrestrial planet. Results showed that hydrogen or other light gases do initially escape into outer space, but for planets farther away from the star, where the temperature is more moderate, stand by. Hydrogen also reacted with oxygen and iron in the gases in the planet's interior. This produced water and other heavier gases, forming an atmosphere that results show is stable over time. Results also show that for these Goldilocks zone planets, water rains out of the atmosphere fairly quickly, making the water less likely to escape. It's easier for the JWST to observe hotter planets closest see the star because they emit more thermal radiation, which isn't as affected by the interference from the star. For those planets, we have a fairly unambiguous answer. They don't have a thick atmosphere. For me, Christensen Toten says, this result is interesting because it suggests that the more temperate planets may have atmospheres and ought to be carefully scrutinized with telescopes, especially given their habitability potential. The JWST has not yet been able to see whether the planets a little further from the TRAPPIST-1 star have atmospheres, but if they do, this means they could have surface liquid water and a temperate climate conducive to life. With the telescopes we have now, the James Webb and the extremely large ground-based telescopes coming soon, we're really only going to be able to look at a very small number of habitable zone rocky planets' atmospheres. It's the TRAPPIST-1 planets and a couple of others, Christensen Toten said. Given the huge interest in the research for life elsewhere, our results suggest that it's worthwhile investing in telescope time to continue studying the habitability of these systems with the technology we have now, rather than waiting for the next generation of more powerful telescopes. Okay, back to Nat. This is WB5OZL.
Great, thank you, Miranda. This is KF5CDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, tonight's discussion topic of the evening, did you see the comet? It is still possible. On the Sky and Telescope infographic, it says you can see it from the 12th to the 31st, although it is climbing much higher in the sky and it is dimmer with a much shorter tail. But you may get lucky if you get out in dark skies. I saw it on October 16th. I wanted to see it on the 12th or 13th, but I just wasn't able to get out and get a clear enough horizon view because it was lower to the horizon, but it had a longer tail. And there are some folks that have gotten some spectacular images. Some are one-shot, some are like stacked photos of multiple exposures. Tom pulled some good ones, one from Portugal, from Rui Santos Learia, and one from Egypt, Mohammed Allah Sharm El Sheikh. There were some beautiful photos with the dramatic tail, and I've seen some recently that folks were, as the tail got fainter, the anti-tail was starting to show up. So the darker the skies, the better, obviously. I saw it in town. It was faint in the city lights, but it was visible. I kind of had to avert my vision a little bit to see the tail, but I was able to get my Canon EOS Rebel T3i camera on my tripod, and took like 1 second, half-second exposures, and was able to get, kind of a good photo. It is easily noticeable, but it is small. But for me, Comet Neo-wise in 2020 was easier to photograph because it was higher in the sky, it was later at night, and there also wasn't a full moon bearing down on the view from behind. So nature's floodlight was kind of making it a challenge as the moon was waxing and getting more and more full. It made it a challenging view. But I was able to see it and get a picture to have a memento of the occasion. So I wanted to throw it out there. Did you see the comet? If anyone has the comet experience, did you see it? Did you photograph it? Did you look at it through binoculars or a telescope or just naked eye? Come now with your call sign and share your comet Sichin Atlas experience.
KE5I6.
Tom, good evening. Did you see the comet?
Hi, Billy, and good topic this evening. Yes, I did. About 10 days ago, I saw it right here in Corpus from my new abode, and in the west sky. I had a regular field binocular, so I was able to pick it up that way. No pictures. That's not that good at that sort of thing, but I did see it for quite a while before it went behind the hospital here. It's right across the street from where I live. But it was pretty cool. It's not as spectacular as some of the ones I've seen in the past, but it was still pretty cool. It's always interesting seeing that. I did see also, as a sidelight this morning, I saw one of the meteorites from one of the meteorite showers. I can't remember which one it was that we're seeing, but I saw it this morning when I was out about 4 o'clock running, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's always interesting. I saw Kohoutek many years ago and a few others, but I'm not as adept as you old hams when it comes to photography and all that, so I'm very much interested in seeing the pictures that you guys have taken. KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, in some of those historic comments, I would have liked to have seen, like, Hale-Bopp. Kohoutek would have been amazing. And there are some seasoned comet hunters out there. There's actually an Astronomical League Comet Hunter program where you can get a certificate or a pin for observing a certain number of comets. I think it's 10. You can get an award for that. You can go to Astronomical League and look that up. Does anybody else have a comet Su-Chin-Chan experience that they would like to share from this month? If so, please come now with your call sign. Or if you didn't see the comet this one, if you have a comet story, that would be awesome to hear too. So please come now with any comet experience. Anyone, if you've yet to see it, go out facing west about 45 minutes after sunset. Darker skies, the better. Look very high up now. It's going to be up in the constellation Ophiuchus, well above very bright Venus. And if you miss the comet, Venus is a nice view. It's very bright in the western sky. Chaz, KF5JHA, do you have any astronomical details that you'd like to share for people still trying to find the comet from KF5PDS?
Thanks. Actually, I have not been able to see it visually for the last several nights because it's just kind of faint in the sky. I've never been able to see it from my apartment here in Mesquite. Just too much skylight from city lights. But I've visited 3 different state parks and gotten pictures and seen it visually and also through binoculars. I'll give you more details, and if you're signed into the YouTube version of Skynet, you'll get to see some pretty pictures I'll show you during the What's Up segment. This is KF5JJ.
I thought you might have something. I didn't scroll ahead to see. But before we get to your segment, Chaz, let me check in Alpha Golf 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas on radio. He's checked in on the sheet. Do we have any other check-ins? If anybody else would like to check in to this evening's net, please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. Any additional check-ins, so let's go ahead with What's Up. So, Chaz, I will return it to you, KF5JHA from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. this evening. I want to welcome all of you to Skynet. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. This segment of Skynet is called What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the past couple of weeks and over the next couple of weeks and beyond. That was slide number 2. Slide master, slide number 3. We've talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is not very easily seen. You need to have a telescope to see it. Not even binoculars will do it. You can't see with your two eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star with just my two eyes from a very bright, light-polluted location here in Mesquite. So this will be interesting. Nope, just saw it earlier tonight with my C-Star telescope, and nope, it hasn't gone nova tonight. Slide master, slide number 4. Now, yesterday on October the 25th, I was able to take this picture of the sun using a solar filter with the ZWO C-Star. I've talked about that instrument that I got about 2 months ago. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. Now, the sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We've talked about the solar cycle in the past couple of Skynets, and actually the sun's very active. And we'll get to that one on the next slide. Slide master, slide number 5. Because the sun has been active, it has sent multiple CMAs toward the Earth, giving us an opportunity for Texas to see auroras. There was a report of aurora being seen in our area on October the 10th, so I headed toward the country. I got to a dark sky site. It was at Lake Lavon State Park near the dam. I understand that the aurora was really bright as soon as it got dark, but from Lake Lavon, I didn't see it visually, but I did get these pictures of it that you can see over on the video version of Skynet. Pretty cool. Slide master, slide number 6. My friend Dennis Harwell lives near Telephone, Texas. He was able to observe the aurora visually, plus he got pictures of it in the northwestern part of the sky, and near the overhead point, and also in the northeastern part of the sky. That's what the 3-segment pictures that you see on that version of Skynet. Let's see now. The sun has already unleashed an X1.3 solar flare yesterday, and we may have aurora visible in North Texas in the next few days. If you want to find out if that's happening, I would suggest going to spaceweather.com. That's what I use to check it out. Slide master, slide number 7. Now, we've been talking about the comet, and our own Kelly Miller. I don't see her on Echolink tonight, but our own Kelly Miller was able to capture this image of comet C23A3T Atlas with just her cell phone camera while she was in Point, Texas about 2 weeks ago. She was able to see it before I could see it. I think this is a fantastic picture. With a cell phone camera? Wow. Slide master, slide number 8, please. A friend of mine, Nick Malone, who is working to get enough flying time hours to qualify him as a commercial pilot, took these 2 pictures while flying a plane at 16,000 feet near Houston with his cell phone. The picture on the right in this video version of Skynet shows the comet anti-tail that Billy was talking about earlier. So that's kind of pretty neat too. Slide master, slide number 9. You that are in the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, my friend Dennis Harwell was able to capture the comet when it was its closest to the Earth on October the 12th. In this picture, that's on slide number 9. Yep, he was able to do it. He got to see it a day before I was able to. Slide master, slide number 10. Now, in this picture, Dennis captured a better picture of the comet a couple days later in a little darker skies when the comet was a little bit higher in the sky. Now, Venus is the bright object on the left side of the picture, and you can see the comet on the right side of the picture. I have a similar picture I'll show you in just a few minutes. Slide master, slide number 11, please. On October the 17th, The comet was even higher, but the sky glow overwhelms the comet with a longer exposure. So it's not as good a picture, but anyway, it's a better picture in some ways because you can see the long tail. Slide master, slide number 12. This, in my opinion, is the best picture that Dennis took, and it was taken on Sunday, October the 20th, with a perfect image of the comet. It looks great in the sky. He uses a Nikon D7100 camera to take his pictures, and I'll talk about my pictures in just the next slide. Slide master, slide number 13, please. I took my first pictures of the comet on the evening of October the 13th. I wasn't able to see it on the 12th, but this October the 13th picture with Venus in the left side of the image, and the comet is barely visible on the right side of the image. You might be able to see a tiny little streak of a tail there. It was still twilight, and so, I was looking toward the skies in the DFW area toward the west, so that doesn't look out very good. But the next slide, slide number 14, the very next night I took a better image of the comet on October the 14th. The tail is much better looking in this slide, again on slide number 14. Slide number 15, on October the 23rd, this past Wednesday, I took this much better image of the comet with my Canon EOS Rebel T6 camera. Sounds like it's similar to what Billy has. Using a 50mm f1.8 lens at iOS 800 for an exposure of about 10 seconds. I was at Lake Ray Roberts State Park. There you go. Away from the DFW Light Dome. Now, slide number 16, I noticed near the tail of the comet a little star cluster that I later identified as IC4665. Usually, the IC, it's an index catalog of objects in the sky, means you can't see them, but I was able to see them in the images of the pictures I was taking, so I took a look at the image using a sea star, and that's what's in that next image right there. There you go, you see the arrow pointing at the star cluster, and there's the image of IC4665 right there in the center of the picture. Pretty cool if you ask me. Okay, slide master, slide number 17. Speaking of the ZWO sea star, I took these two images of the comet on Wednesday, about 1 hour and 41 minutes apart. Look at the arrow on the left and the right point, at the left and right pictures pointing at the same star. Look how much the comet moved compared to the stars during that period of time. Again, it's an hour and 41 minutes later. So I like this that shows the actual movement of the comet. I couldn't take really long exposures. The longest I could take was about 4 minutes, and then would streak. The comet would. The head of the comet looked elongated, so that was kind of interesting. So those are some of the eye candy pictures that I had, and I'm so glad that other people got to see them, and I'm glad some of them shared them with me. If you're a Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club member, I look forward to some of other people's pictures in the next Spectrum newsletter. Slide master, slide number 18. The third quarter phase of the moon was on October the 21st, just a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On October the 29th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,161 kilometers. The new moon is on November the 1st. November the 8th is the date that's the first quarter moon. On November the 14th, the moon is at its perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 360,109 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 19, please. If you got up early this morning, you probably saw a lot of clouds. But if you were lucky enough, the moon was next to the bright star Regulus. That's the brightest star in the Leo the Lion. They were in conjunction in the early morning eastern sky. And this evening, On October the 26th, the planet Venus and the bright star Antares were in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. If you were out there this evening, it was a beautiful sight. I was out there and actually imaged the comet from my apartment in Mesquite. Had not tried that before, but I was able to get an image. Can't see it even with binoculars from here in Mesquite tonight, but I was able to capture it on the Seastar astronomical camera. Slide master, slide number 21. On October the 29th, the moon and the asteroid Vesta are in conjunction in the eastern morning sky. Slide master, slide number 22. I know I'm making the slide projector go through a lot of slides tonight. On November the 3rd, the moon and the bright star Antares are in a conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. So once again, the moon will be next to Antares. That'll be interesting. And on the very next night, slide master, slide number 23, the November the 4th, the thin crescent moon are in conjunction with the bright planet Venus in the southwestern evening sky. You should be able to get a picture of that with your cell phone, because the moon will be a crescent moon and Venus will be bright enough to see. Slide master, slide number 24. On November the 6th is when you could spot the conjunction of the asteroid and asteroid Ceres and the moon in the constellation of Sagittarius in the evening southwestern sky. My goodness, and this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 25. Hey, wow, that was a marathon. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've given you? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come down with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Not hearing anything. Slide master, slide number 26. So as the moon wanes, so that these words for this segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for a world that's the only one where humans live right now. Until next time, well, actually, I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ. Back to our net control, KF5 PDS. Billy, it's yours.
And that was a wonderful slideshow over there on YouTube. Got some people out there getting some awesome pictures, and Chaz, you got some great ones. I've been thinking about getting a Seastar, so man, I wish I'd gotten one in time to get the comet pictures. Those are fantastic. And they're great cell phone pictures and camera pics, so thank you for that wonderful slideshow. This is KF5TDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. I see that Jay has joined us over on EchoLink. Jay, did you want to check in via voice? If you want to come over EchoLink, I'll give you some time.
All right, this is Kilo Golf 5. Hello, is it Whiskey? Hey there, weather. Thank you for let me check in.
Problem, Jay, and Bobby, at Will's point, I see that you've already checked in via the spreadsheet, so I already acknowledged you. But if you wanted to give a just over EchoLink shout out before we move on, I'd be glad to give you some time. So, Bobby, at Will's point on EchoLink, if you'd like to just say hello over on EchoLink, I'll give you some time. But I've already got your checked in, Bobby. So let's move in to space exploration of space history. As Chad said, I don't see Kelly checked in, so Brenda, I'm assuming you're doing space exploration of space history tonight. So WB5OZL, I will turn the net over to you from KF5 PDF.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. Tonight in Space Exploration News, the first triple black hole system was discovered in a happy accident. Astronomers have discovered the first black hole triple system, consisting of a black hole hungrily feeding on a companion star while being orbited by a more distant, cautious star. Black holes form during the violent death of massive stars in supernova explosions, but this surprising discovery could indicate a more gentle black hole birthing process called direct collapse. That is because if the origin of this black hole had been more violent, it would have supplied a prenatal kick that would have launched the loosely bound distant star out of this triple star system. The system in question is V404 Cygni, located within the Milky Way and around 8,000 light years from Earth. The so-called X-ray binary of the black hole and its victim star were previously known, and the system has been well studied. However, a deeper investigation performed by a team led by Kelvin Burge from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology revealed that this binary actually sits at the heart of a triple star system. Next, after the catch, what's next for Starship Flight 6? After the jaw-dropping super heavy catch during Starship Flight 5, you're probably wondering, what's the big plan for Flight 6? Is it just another let's fly high moment or something even crazier? The primary goal for Flight 6 is to push the boundaries of space travel with orbital refueling. SpaceX wants to show they can transfer fuel between two starships while in orbit. Why? So that we can reach Mars or even farther without making pit stops. The Super Heavy booster and Starship came together to carry about 3,400 tons of propellant for a full flight. That's roughly the weight of 28 blue whales. To reach orbit, Starship uses approximately 1,200 tons of that fuel. If they can refuel Starship in space, we're talking about trips to Mars and back with no need to return to Earth for fuel. Next, a big development in space weather forecasting. Imagine a giant CME headed straight for Earth, but no one knew it was coming. Space weather forecasters have long worried about such a scenario. Stand by. Our best early warning system for CMEs is a coronagraph on board the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, SOHO, which was launched in December 1995. How long can such an ancient spacecraft be expected to last? We can stop worrying. Yesterday, NOAA unveiled its replacement, the CCOR-1 solar coronagraph on board the new GOES-19 satellite. Using an occulting disk, it's a dark blue circle in the center of the image, to block the sun, the glare of the sun. CCOR-1 delivers uninterrupted monitoring of CMEs with a new image every 15 minutes. GOES-19 is currently undergoing post-launch testing and checkout of its instruments, including the coronagraph. In spring of 2025, NOAA will begin using CCOR1 for regular CME forecasts. SOHO, meanwhile, will continue monitoring the sun as it has done for almost 30 years. This incredible spacecraft has discovered more than 5,000 sun-grazing comets and helped forecasters predict hundreds of strong geomagnetic storms. Birthdays. Ronald McNair, October 21st, 1950. He flew on STS-41B, and of course he passed away in the disastrous STS-51L. Douglas G. Hurley, October 21st, 1966. STS-127-135 and SPX DM-2 Expedition 63. Donald H. Peterson, October 22nd, 1933. He flew on STS-6. Susan Kilrain, October 24th, 1961. Flew on STS-83 and 94. And Rusty Schweikert, October 25th, 1935. Flew on Apollo 9. Zena Cartman, October 26, 1988. No flights yet. Of course, there's a story. She got bumped because of the stranded astronauts. But that's a different story. Stephen Robinson, October 26, 1955. STS 85, 95, 114, and 130. Next, this week in space history. On October 24th, 1946, a V-2 rocket captured the first ever photo of Earth from space. While these grainy black and white images might stand by, let me reset.
Good evening. The time is 10 p.m.
They might not look like much today, but they were a huge deal at the time because no one had ever seen Earth from space before. The V-2 rocket launched from the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. It carried a 35mm motion picture camera that captured a view frame every second and a half. The rocket soared to an altitude of about 65 miles before falling back to Earth. Both the rocket and the camera were destroyed after crashing into Earth at a speed of about 340 miles per hour. But the film survived because it was at its steel case. Scientists had to drive out into the New Mexico desert to retrieve the film. When they saw the images for the first time, the scientists were literally jumping up and down with joy. Then in October of 1945, there was an article in Wireless World called Extraterrestrial Relays. Can rocket stations give worldwide radio coverage? It makes the first discussion of geostationary satellites as a means of communication. This was written by Arthur C. Clarke, who is kind of the father of all this. Then Venera 9 was a Soviet uncrewed space mission to Venus. It consisted of an orbiter and a lander. It was launched on June 8, 1975. The orbiter was the first spacecraft to orbit Venus, while the lander was the first to return images from the surface of another planet. The orbiter entered Venus orbit on October 20th, 1975. Its mission was to act as a communications relay for the lander and explore cloud layers and atmospheric parameters with several instruments and experiments. It performed 17 survey missions from October 26, 1975 to December 25th, 1975. All right, that's all I have. Back to Nat. This is WB5OZL.
Hey, thank you, Brenda. This is KF5TDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC SkyNet. All right, I don't see any other check-ins on our hot link sheet or on Echolink, but if there's anybody over voice on air that would like to check in, before we move on to our next segment, please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. Any additional check-ins, so we'll move on to Miss Carol's Constellation of the Week. Once again, I will return the net to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Billy, let's talk about something that's overhead in the sky right now. Kind of difficult to see from inside the city because it's not a bright constellation, but anyway, slide number 27. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Cepheus, the king. Now, let me refresh you with the myth surrounding Cepheus. Cepheus' wife, Cassiopeia, also a constellation, was a very vain woman. Once she boasted that she was more beautiful than the Nereids, that's the sea nymphs, one of which was the wife of the sea god Poseidon, which angered the sea nymphs and Poseidon, who then sent a sea monster represented by the constellation of Cepheus to ravage the coast. Now, in some versions of the story, Cassiopeia bragged that her daughter Andromeda was more beautiful than the sea nymphs. Cepheus turned to an oracle for advice to figure out how to prevent this utter disaster, and the oracle told him that the only way Poseidon would was to sacrifice his daughter Andromeda to the sea monster. Now, desperate, Cepheus and Cassiopeia did this, leaving their daughter chained to a rock for Cetus, the sea monster, to find. Luckily, the hero Perseus came flying by on Pegasus, the winged horse, also another constellation in the sky, and so is Perseus. He found the princess, and he rescued her, and he killed the monster, Cetus. Later, he married Andromeda, and of course, they lived happily ever after. All 6 of these main characters in the story are constellations. See, they didn't have Skynet or TV or those kind of things to entertain them back then. Slide Master, slide number 28, the jokes of the week. Are you ready for them? All right, here we go. You know you're welcome to boo or hiss, and if you're over here on Echolink, you can boo and hiss on the chat station. I'm also monitoring the YouTube version, and you can have a chat station on there and boo and hiss on there if you want to. But you can also laugh and say thank you. Yeah. All right, here we go. What is the king of all tools? Well, the ruler, of course. What is it called when the king and the queen have no children? It would be called the receding airline. The fattest knight at King Arthur's round table was circumference. He acquired his size from too much pie. What was King Midas's favorite pet? A golden retriever, of course. Why was the king wet? Well, because he was the reigning monarch. And okay, the last one, when I do this at the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting, they always applaud because it's the last one. Once there was a king only 12 inches tall. He was a lousy king, but he made a great ruler. Okay, this is KF5JHA and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 29. Of Cepheus, Delta Cephei, serves as the prototype of a class of stars known as the Cepheid variables, or simply Cepheus. The bright star, the brighter the star, the longer the period of variability. Delta Cepheid's variables are in luminous and spectral type as a result of a pulsation in the star. The star's spectral type varies from F5 to G3 over a period of about 5.36634 days. 5 days, 8 hours, 47 minutes, 32 seconds. A Cepheid variable is a pulsating variable that has a definite relationship, again, between its pulsation period and its actual luminosity. This is important because we can calculate its actual luminosity once we've timed its pulsation. Then we can compare the apparent luminosity as seen from the Earth with the actual luminosity, and from this we can determine the distance to the star. Delta Cephei itself has been computed to have a distance of about 1,000 light years. As a double star, Delta is very easy to split at low power. The fainter member appears to have a slightly different colors than the primary, with the primary being a pale yellow and the companion being a slightly bluish green. It reminds some of Alberio and Cygnus, the swan, but not nearly as contrasty. Like Alberio, the two stars of Delta Cepheid are generally believed to be a true physical pair, even though there's no orbital motion that's been observed around the pair. Because both stars, they share the same proper motion, so they're traveling in the same direction in the sky. Ra, or Gamma Cepheid, notable that the fact that they're due to precession, they will become the pole star in about the year 2000. In a telescope, Gamma looks white and a faint tinge of yellow color. So Gamma Cepheid, a future pole star. Mu Cepheid, the garnet star, is so named by Herschel, who named it because of its red color. To honor its discoverer, many refer to as Mu as Herschel's garnet star. Now this star looks noticeably red or maybe orange even to the finder scope. For the main scope it is a reddish orange in color. It is a good reason that Mu is perhaps the reddest star visible to the naked eye from the northern latitudes. It is a red supergiant star and is also an irregular variable. In these respects, it is similar to Betelgeuse, which sometimes is an irregular variable, and supergiant. We talked about Betelgeuse in past Skynets, about it dimming several years ago. However, the garnet star, or Mu Cepheid, is believed to be larger than Betelgeuse, and it's larger than the orbit of Mars if you put it in the center of our solar system. As Dave Hutchinson writes in the spectrum, it's about 22 astronomical units in diameter. That's 22 sizes of the Earth's diameter. Wow. If it were plopped in our solar system, we'd be inside the star. The orbit might even extend out toward Saturn. I mean, the surface of the star. That's pretty big. Sky Master, Slide Master. Slide number 30, please. Are you the Sky Master too? The next object is IC1396, the Elephant Trunk Nebula. It is a large emission nebula with an involved open star cluster lying south of the Herschel's Garnet star. The total integrated visual magnitude of IC1396 is about 3.5, which sounds fairly bright, but it's spread across an area of the sky about 3 degrees in diameter. That means I can't even image it with a C-star telescope. And it has a very low surface brightness. Through the embedded open cluster, it's easy to see the nebula itself is a challenge to detect visually, requiring very dark and transparent skies. Slide Master, slide number 31. NGC 188, which is Coldwell object number 1, is a faint cluster, easily missed and being only 4 degrees from Polaris. It resides in an area of the sky that is often overlooked. NGC 188 contains about 150 to 200 stars, but many of them are on the faint side, going down to 18th magnitude. Now, I imaged this with the C-star about a month and a half ago, and it's faint even in the C-star with, I think I did 8 minutes of stacking the image. It spans a quarter of a degree in the sky, so it's best observed in large aperture or at low power. So I'm going to have to see if I can see it in my 16-inch telescope next weekend. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Slide Masters, slide number 32. NGC, which stands for New General Catalog number 40, which is Coldwell Object number 2, the Bow Tie Nebula, a planetary nebula so named because of its structure that what's in it resembles the shape of a bow tie. So some sharp-eyed observers like Stephen James O'Meara have been able to see some structure in the nebula. The actual bow tie shape is not apparent visually, but only caught with time exposure photographs. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 23. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Cepheus the King. I've given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Now, most of them have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in the observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year from the Astronomical League. And Slide Master, slide number 34, that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cepheus the King. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal from them every Skynet. Also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week we'll take a look at Pegasus, the winged horse. That was part of the story I talked about earlier. Now, I have some good news and bad news. Good news is that next week I might not be on Skynet. We have something called the Ghost Hunt with the Texas Astronomical Society. You see, in the spring we have something called the Messier Marathon. We try to see as many of the 110 Messier objects in one night as we can. But there's a similar program around Halloween on the Saturday closest to the new moon that's called the Ghost Hunt. No, we don't look for real ghosts, but we look at faint fuzzy things in the sky and try to find as many of them as we can that's on the list. About 100 or so of them. So I may be at the dark side for the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas next week. If it's cloudy weather, I'll be here on Skynet. And this is KF5JJ. Chaz saying goodnight, and 73, back to our net control. Billy, it's yours, KF5 PDS.
Right, thank you so much, Chaz. This is KF5PDS Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space launches for this week, so at this time I will turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy, and this is KE5ICX. We got a few this week and beyond. October 29th, we have the Starlink 9-9 flight. This will be from SLC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. They'll launch another batch of the Starlink V2 mini satellites to low Earth orbit. A little more than 8 minutes after the liftoff, the first stage booster will land on the SpaceX drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. On October 30th, we'll see another Starlink launch, 10-13. This will be from Cape Canaveral at SLC-40 in Florida. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites to low Earth orbit. A little more than 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage booster will land on the SpaceX drone ship. Then we have on November 4th the Electron launch. This is called Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes. It will launch from the Mahia Peninsula at Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch a satellite for a confidential commercial customer. Oh, that seems kind of dubious. The mission is described as Rocket Lab's fastest turnaround to date, from signed contract to launch date in less than 2 months. The payload, the orbit, and the timing of the deployment were not disclosed at the time the launch was announced. Overnight, between November 4th and 5th, will be the Falcon 9 launch of CRS-31. This will be from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch one of its Cargo Dragon spacecraft to deliver thousands of pounds of science and other supplies to the International Space Station. This will be SpaceX's 31st supply run to the ISS as part of the Commercial Resupply Services 2 contract with NASA. The first stage booster will perform a return to landing site, RTLS, oh, it's got a little acronym now, landing at Landing Zone 1, or LZ1, less than 8 minutes after liftoff. Then sometime in November will be the New Glenn NG-1 launch from Launch Complex 36 at at Cape Canaveral. The Blue Origin New Glenn rocket will launch the company's Blue Ring spacecraft, which is capable of both hosting and deploying multiple payloads. Blue Origin will attempt to land the first stage booster on its sea-based landing platform, Jacqueline. Sometime in the spring of 2025 will be another New Glenn mission. This will be called Escapade. This will be from Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral. This rocket will launch a pair of identical spacecraft, the NASA Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamic Explorers, or Escapade mission. The two satellites, named Blue and Gold, will make a roughly 11-month journey to Mars, where they will then perform about an 11-month science mission while orbiting the red planet. Blue and Gold were manufactured by Rocket Lab over 3.5 years and carry science experiments from the University of California, Berkeley. This launch of the New Glenn rocket will also feature a landing attempt on its landing barge in the Atlantic Ocean. And then finally, to be determined, will be the Vulcan Centaur Dream Chaser 1 launch that we keep waiting for, to be determined sometime in 2025. It'll launch from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. It'll be a Vulcan Centaur rocket. It'll launch its second demonstration flight of the Sierra Dream Chaser's cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. It's a lifting body resupply spacecraft. It'll launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. This will be Dream Chaser's first flight to space. The Vulcan Centaur will fly in the VC-4L configuration. Billy, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and give satellite passes if you'd like, since I've got that segment as well. I'll let you go ahead and decide.
Yes, please, Tom. Please go ahead with those. Thank you for volunteering to just go on through KFI TDS.
All right, thank you, Billy. There are 4 good passes coming up for the International Space Station. We have November 1st. This would be a minus 1.3 magnitude at 7:05 a.m. out of the north. It'll reach its highest point at 7:07 or 17 degrees. So it's a relatively low pass, but they get better as time goes on. It'll fall to the east-northeast at 7:09. November 2nd sees a good pass, a minus 0.9 magnitude at 6:17 a.m. out of the north-northeast, reach its highest point at just 11 degrees at 16:18. And it'll fall to the northeast at 6:18:54. Then we get a good pass, November 3rd, minus 2.8 magnitude at 6:02 a.m. out of the north-northwest, reach its highest point at 42 degrees at 6:05, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 6:08. Then finally, November 4th, minus 1.8 magnitude, 5:15 a.m. at 20 degrees out of the north. It'll reach its highest point at 5:16 in the northeast, 24 degrees, and it'll fall at 5:19 due east. Next up is the Tiangong Space Station. It has a couple of good passes, October 27th. This one will be minus 0.9 magnitude, 6:40 a.m. At the northwest, it'll reach its highest point at 34 degrees at 6:42, and it'll fall to the east at 6:45. We have October 28th. There are two passes. The better one is minus 2.2 magnitude, pretty good, 7:14 a.m. out of the west-northwest. It reaches its highest point at 74 degrees at 7:17, and it'll fall to the southeast at 7:21. We have October 28th, minus 2.2 magnitude, 7:14. Mention that one? I already did that one, sorry. October 29th, minus 1.8 magnitude at 6:16. Out of the north, it reaches its highest point at 55 degrees at 6:16. It'll fall to the east-southwest at 6:19. And then one more I'll give you, which is October 30th, minus 1.4 magnitude at 6:49 out of the west at 21 degrees. It reaches its highest point at 38 degrees at 6:51. To the south-southwest, and it'll fall to 6:54 to the southeast. Of course, all this information is available at Heavens Above / what is it, / well, I guess there is no /. Just go there and it'll bring up the / for you. heavensabove.com. Just plug in your coordinates or just enable your browser to give its location, and then it will give you all the information. Everything that I provided is for the Dallas area, specifically Louisville, where I used to live. Back to you, Billy. This is KE5ICX.
Tom, this is KFI PDF Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Let's go ahead and move on to our 73 rounds since we're getting close to the end of the net. Are there any checked-in stations with any other remarks or questions? I don't see any other check-ins on our hotlink sheet or echo link, but if there's anyone on frequency that would like to check in just to get in for the count, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from. Final check-ins, please. None. Does anyone need any fills? So tonight we had 24 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5 PDF Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:29 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73 everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And in about 5 or 6 minutes, come back for the Afterglow Movie Net, where we'll be discussing The House on Haunted Hill from 1959. 73 everybody.
This is KE5ICX. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. You get a new net control this evening. Somebody new who will be taking over the net. So come back in about 5 minutes. You have plenty of time to pop up some microwave popcorn, which is what I always do. See you in 5. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, I think it's been 5 minutes. Tom, did you want to say anything before I go ahead? W5BLT.
No, just to say that that Bill, W5BLT, who's about to take the net, volunteered to do net control for this and some of the other nets, and I'm thrilled to death to have you there, Bill. So I think you know the routine really well, and I'm looking forward to the net, KE5ICX.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it, and glad to be net control. Have not done anything like this since high school, and I'm 55 now, so it's been since the 80s. So tonight's film is House on Haunted Hill. Stars Vincent Price, and we usually meet about 10:30 on Saturday nights and review a movie. Some of them are good. That's usually Tom and everyone else that recommends. I think the bad ones are all Brenda. That's what I heard anyway. I don't know that that's necessarily true. Won't go through this. We usually do the plot, characterization, and then special effects and music in the third round. I'm going to go through the plot, and then I'll take the call signs and did you see the movie. This plot is a little bit long, so I'll stop and take a breath and maybe even a drink going through it, but this is the plot from Wikipedia. Frederick Loren, an eccentric millionaire, invites 5 people to a party he is throwing for his 4th wife, Annabelle. The party's taking place in an allegedly haunted house that he's rented. He promises to give each guest $10,000 with the stipulation that they spend the night in the house after midnight when the doors are locked. All the windows are barred, there are no telephones or radios to use. The guests are test pilot Lance Schroeder, newspaper columnist Ruth Bridges, psychiatrist Dr. David Trent, who specializes in hysteria, Nora Manning, who works at one of Lawrence companies, and the house's owner, Watson Pritchard. All are strangers to each other, to the Lawrence and each other. Their only commonality is their lust for money. The Lawrence have a tense relationship. Frederick is convinced that Annabelle tried to poison him to acquire his wealth. Annabelle somewhat evasively denies this, attributing it to his paranoia and jealousy. Watson believes this house is generally haunted by those who are murdered there, including his own brother. He claims to have spent one night before and was almost dead when found the next morning. He gives a tour of the house, which includes a vat of acid, which the previous owner used to kill his wife. When Lance and Nora remain behind to explore the basement, Lance is locked in an empty room and struck on the head while a menacing ghost confronts Nora. Annabelle warns Lance that her husband is scheming and that she suspects him of murdering his second and third wife after his first wife disappeared. I gotta take a breath. So the guests go downstairs and they learn the party's rules. They're each given a Colt Model 1903 for protection. Having encountered further apparitions, Nora decides against staying the night, but the caretakers lock the doors 5 minutes early, taking that option out of the guest's hands.
4, 8, 9,
Hearing a scream, Lance and David find Annabelle. It's suggested in the way the corpse is hung that she hung herself. They don't see a perch, so the absence leads to them that it was maybe murder. And then Nora says that an unseen assailant strangled her, leaving her for dead. In light of Annabelle's warning, they both suspect Frederick. They tell her to remain out of sight, so the attacker will still think she's dead. Lance and David propose that everyone stay in their rooms and shoot anyone who enters. That way they'll survive the night. The guests would have no reason to leave the room and a good reason to stay inside. The killer must stay put or admit guilt. David concludes that the killer is about. He and Frederick split up to search the house. Lance uncovers a secret room at the end of the hall on the second floor, and the door shuts behind him, and he's trapped. Lance has a lot of bad luck in this movie, by the way. David instead meets with Annabelle, who has faked her death using a hanging harness and sedatives. They're secretly lovers. The two of them have orchestrated the various mishaps to get Nora to kill Frederick. Nora, seeing Frederick enter the basement with the gun, indeed shoots him. After she flees, David slips into the basement to put Frederick's body in the acid, and the lights go out. Annabelle walks to the basement to confirm her husband is dead. A skeleton rises from the acid, accuses her in Frederick's voice, shoves her into the vat. Frederick emerges from the shadows with the puppeteer control that he's been using to manipulate the skeleton, and reveals he knew about the plot all along. Then Nora Watson and they release Lance from the secret room, and she tells them, Nora tells them she shot Frederick. When they arrive in the cellar, Frederick explains that he loaded her gun with blanks, and he knew about their plot to kill him, and that they both met their vats. They end in the vat of acid. He said he's ready for justice to decide whether he's guilty or innocent. Watson remains convinced that the house is haunted, now with David and Annabelle added to its ranks of ghosts, and that he will be the next victim. And that's the plot. Deep breath. Okay, so what we're going to do is take your call, name, and did you see this fine movie that Brenda recommended? Now, if you could, since I have not done this since high school, give your call sign twice, slowly, and then once at least phonetically, so that I can take it down. And we'll take check-ins now. And did you see this fine movie, House on Haunted Hill?
November Tango 5. Tango Mike. November Tango 5. Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. Yes, I saw the movie. Well, most of it.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Yes, I saw it.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX, Tom, Corpus. Yes, I saw the movie. Fell asleep a couple of times, but saw most of it.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot in V5F. This is Virginia, and I also saw the movie.
Kilo Delta Zero, Oscar X-Ray Charlie. I saw it. Oh, Golf 5, Bravo.
Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima, WB50ZL. Name is Brenda in Dallas. I did see this movie. It was a pretty good movie, so I guess I'll take credit for selecting it.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, J, whatever, I saw it.
Kilo Juliet 5, Bravo, Oscar. This is Andy in Dallas, and I watch it every year for Halloween.
Okay, let's stop there for just a second. I've got Tony, who saw the movie N5BB. And Tony, I'll have to get your call sign again. I know you gave it to me several times. My hands were shaking so bad I didn't get it at first. Actually, the truth is I had to get my word processor open. KE5ICX, Tom saw the movie. And let me go down. We have NV5F, Virginia. Yes, she saw the movie. And I've got ND0OXC, I believe. Yes, saw the movie. And I've got KG5B and Bravo, saw the movie. WB50ZL. Brenda, yes, she saw the movie and will take credit for it. I'm sorry, the last call I got, KG5BZWJ saw the movie. KB500, yes, saw the movie and sees it every year. Other check-ins, please come now. We'll take check-ins a little later again, too, just in case somebody decides to join us. I'm thinking of a person that usually does join us a little bit late that may have seen the movie as well. Tony, I'm sorry again. Give me your call and tell me what you think of the plot of this fine movie that Brenda is taking credit for.
Hey, I'm NT5TM, North Texas 5, Tony Mendina, NT5TM. I have seen an hour of this hour and 15-minute movie. I am still kind of sitting on the fence about whether I like it or not. So far, I mean, I'm immune to spoilers. Nobody worry about that. Aaron says we should watch The Haunting instead. Well, this is The House on Haunted Hill from 1959. Aaron wants me to watch a different movie. There's too much screaming, certainly. That is not an important plot element to me. It's an annoyance. And the plot, I think, has so far been too hard on the women. The men are just wandering about, and the women are being subjected to all kinds of bizarre tortures and/or ropes coiling around them. And I don't quite get why that is. But, so yeah, it's going to depend on whether I like the ending or not, I think, really. I could go either way, whether it's a good plot or a bad plot. I'm at least glad it's not too long. So I'll know the ending soon. NT5TM.
Okay, Tony, yeah, there was, I think they had a quote in other reviews I was reading in prepping for this movie. Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, claims that you went to this movie with your girlfriend. She screamed, you screamed, and everybody had a good time. So that, yes, you're right. There was a lot of screaming in there, and I forgot to tell you that the Nora specializes in screaming. So yeah, there was a lot of that in the movie, and it was very clear as well. N5BB, from one bill to another, what did you think of the plot of this film?
Well, thank you, fellow brother Bill. This is N5BB. Well, a lot of things were very stupid about the plot. That's my technical term for it, stupid. First, would all those special effects in that old house be, which I think was rented. I don't think it was bought by the guy. Would he rent it? I'm now trying to remember. Would all those special things, the steel doors, the automatic things that moved and all that kind of stuff, would that really be done by him just for that one night? No. So the premise is unbelievable, okay? But that's what happens in a lot of horror movies. You get an unbelievable premise. The staff, supposedly those two old people, they didn't look like really humans. Obviously, they kind of looked like ghosts or scarecrows or something. Why? No reason to know. Why did he give everybody a gun? Not clear. Why did he put blanks in one of the guns? Well, that all just was not super clear. It's like she might want to shoot him. They're going to drive the lady crazy, and she might want to shoot him, so he puts blanks in it.
0, 2.
She could have picked that didn't have blanks in it. So that made no sense to me. Why was there a vat of acid in the house, and it was still there? That made no sense. And there wasn't a good description about why so many other people had died in that house. So just a lot of the things were just plot things thrown in there that made no sense. So I didn't find the plot believable in any sense of the word. It wasn't a supernatural movie at all. It was like a horror mystery movie, and I just didn't find it believable. So, although it was kind of a dark black and white movie, but it was still reasonably well made, and the music was reasonable and all that kind of stuff. But I thought the premise and the plot were pretty meaningless. I mean, I didn't believe them. Okay, N5BB, thank you.
All right, Bill doesn't find the movie believable. We'll see what Tom thinks, and I think, Tom, you've had experience around acid, right? You could tell us why the vat was still there. I always thought that acid would dissolve the tub, but maybe Tom knows something that I don't. KE5ICX, Tom, what did you think of this plot?
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for doing the net this evening. I get to kind of sit it out and listen and all that, which is really fun. First off, it's got to be expensive to maintain a vat of acid in the basement. I mean, You got to take care of the pool, right? So you got the pool and acid vat people coming out once a week to take care of the acid and replenish it when you need to, and get the pH level completely out of balance so the acid works the way it's supposed to. What the hell do you have with a vat of acid in your basement? Oh, well, it's for making wine. Sure, yeah, you need acid to make wine. That makes sense. And then go ahead and kill your wife. There's no safety things, rails or anything. You just open this thing up. What does the acid do? Was this something he had put in along with the pool? I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me. And then Vincent decides, whatever his name was in the film, we know it's Vincent Frederick Lauren decides to admit that he killed his wife at the end. Why? I mean, okay, he's rich. He's got lots of money. Everybody's going to sue him for false imprisonment, being held against their will, kidnapping, all of that. They're going to keep him alive just so that they can get his money. I mean, come on. That is crazy. Oh, well, I don't know. Very strange.
Right, so far we've got a yes, a no, a very strange. In 5F, Virginia, you saw this movie. What did you think of the plot?
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for running the net. Well, I thought it was thankfully short. It was I guess a pretty typical haunted house, murder mystery dinner escape room, kind of plot. This kind of plot's been done a bunch of times to varying degrees of success. I did wonder about the handy vat of acid. I mean, I wouldn't want to drink any wine made with hydrochloric acid. That's what I'm assuming it was. It was pretty intense acid. Any acid that could turn a human being into a skeleton in 30 seconds, I don't even want to think how acidic that acid is. Well, let's see. The plot was, I think it was pretty easy to follow. It had a few red herrings in it. The caretakers being, the old lady, the blind old lady who, apparently didn't seem blind. She seemed like she was just sleepwalking. There was, her actions weren't very, you think someone blind wouldn't just walk around like they're sleepwalking all the time. That was weird. She was supposed to be mistaken for a ghost. Anyway, lots of screaming, lots of hysterical, helpless women. There were some things that were never really followed through with, like the severed head that kept showing up, and the guy just, at one point, just clunks it down on the table, and you never see it again, and you never find out, is it a real severed head, or is it a fake severed head that's part of the whole, setup of the thing with, that they're doing that the doctor and the wife of the guy are trying to do to, I don't know. I guess they tried to leave some things to the imagination. Lots of sort of walking around and opening and closing doors, and it was a real walk-aroundy movie where people just, they didn't have much places to walk around. They were just walking around in these hallways and going in and out of doors, and it could be hard at times to figure out where, what the geography of this house was. The house is locked and you can't get out until morning. It's locked from outside, and all the windows have bars, and It seemed very extreme. I guess it was a good way to pull off a, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out why the guy was motivated to give all these people money to stay there overnight, and how the, was that kind of set up by the people who were conspiring? Did they somehow trick him into wanting to do that? But if you just look at it on the surface, it was a pretty straightforward premise for how to get these people all trapped in one place for one 12-hour period, I guess. And, guns, and I guess all the guns had blanks. That's what I'm kind of thinking, is that they were just added by the host to up the drama factor, but I'm guessing they all had blanks. That's my answer to that question. But the handy vat of acid in the wine cellar, the giant wine cellar that was like, huge, the biggest basement on Earth, with random doors that didn't go anywhere. Pretty steady, or pretty basic plot, pretty easy to follow. I didn't have any trouble following it, but it was okay. It kept me, I kept watching, it kept me interested, and it was serving its purpose. It was suspenseful, and it along with the style of cinematography and all that, it did an okay job of keeping me interested.
Good evening. Note 4, 8, 11, 0, 2. Time out.
I didn't quite see coming. Of course, this isn't really my kind of movie, so I don't watch a lot of these kind of movies. So I don't have a lot of, I haven't seen a ton of them, so I don't have a lot of tropes to go on as far as having seen a lot of this genre. So I don't know. It was a refreshing, change for the Halloween season, kind of like our zombie movie we watched last year at this time. It wasn't too bad, but not great either. NB5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. I watched movies kind of like this as a kid. I always liked Vincent Price, particularly in The Last Man on Earth. When I was in fourth grade, went with some friends and saw Halloween. Unbeknownst to me, we didn't know what was going to be shown at drive-thru. We just went with some teenagers. We were grade school kids, and after that, I shied away from the slasher horror movies. But this one, I kind of liked it. It wasn't too bad, but there are lots of plot holes. So let's see what KD0OXC thought of it, and I think I got your call right, but did not get a name. W5BLT. I got the call wrong. Not sure. KD0OXC. Did I get the call right? Okay, I'll move on to Brenda, and then when we get to the bottom list, I'll take check-ins, and if I got that call wrong, let me know if I missed someone. WB5OZL, you are tentatively taking credit for this movie. What did you think of the plot from W5BLT?
This is WB5OZL. Thank you. So far I'm taking credit. I think the remarks are positive enough that I feel good about taking credit for this one. You can't go wrong with Vincent Price. He's just perfect. You know, the voice, the demeanor, everything. Just his presence alone is enough reason to watch a movie. Now, the plot was, had some holes. Fairly predictable, but, you know, so many movies we've seen where a group of people is locked into a house and people start dying. It's a formula that works well enough that they keep doing it over and over. Now, I do question, what kind of party was this? There was nothing but booze. And was the booze already there, or did they bring it in? There was no food. There was no music. Nobody came and sat down at a table and had a dinner party. And, you know, they were just kind of all trapped. And if I were one of those people, I would say, okay, let's all stay in one room and watch each other's backs. Why would you wander around a haunted house for no good reason? Stay put. And don't go into any doors. Don't go any place where you don't know what it is. And don't investigate a far distant scream. Don't go outside. Of course, they couldn't go outside, but this is a thing you see in so many horror films. Hey, there sounds like somebody's being murdered outside. Let's go see what's going on. And then they go outside and get murdered, too. It's like the stupidest people in the world end up in horror movies. I kind of like the twist, you know, and I thought the relationship between Vincent Price and his wife was hilarious, that they just blatantly threatened to kill each other or hoped each other died. Thought that's a marriage made in heaven. Usually you're a little more subtle about it than that. When you openly threaten to kill somebody and then they die, you might be the first suspect. So the first thing you want to do is pretend like you were a devoted spouse. But they didn't. But I thought that part was funny. Let's see, plot. That's not all I have to say about that. So I'm going to turn it back. WB50ZL.
All right, as Tom was saying, thank you, Brenda. You know, one of the questions I should have asked is, would any of us want to stay in a house for $10,000? I mean, there was a lot more money back then than it is today, but I'm sure that I would do that. KG5BZWJ, what did you think of the plot of this fine movie?
This is KG5BZW, and I mean, I wouldn't call it a bad movie by any means, but it's kind of silly. It's that, as others have mentioned, it's just the whole thing that a lot of horror films are silly. So, oh shit, I'm sorry. Maybe I should take a note. There's a few things that I wanted to say. I mean, I know that the acid. I had to look at. Well, I didn't even have to look at it as I knew already. But I confirmed. You know, there is an acid solution. It's not completely acid though. It's something called peroxide solution, which is sulfuric acid and peroxide. And I knew that just from, you know, YouTube videos and whatnot. I've watched a few chemistry-related stuff, and sometimes, you know, random stuff like that gets into your feed, and it's like, well, anyway. But the key aspect of that is like, well, okay, it's peroxide. That's they say was a sulfuric acid, and you know, peroxide decays. So, I don't think it would. I don't know how spread, you know, if peroxide is decays due to UV and stuff, and so we can be in a cold, a wine cellar or whatever, I wouldn't expect to be that much decay, but even probably the best case scenario, if you ever have had rocks out for a while, but it just loses it. It's the over, like, I don't know, a year or so, 2 years. Don't know. Of course, it didn't really explain how long that's been that way or whatnot. I don't know. There's a lot that it didn't really explain. Like one person that mentioned ahead, that's just where. I appreciate. I guess I kind of appreciate the movie for the kind of the unreliable narrator aspect, but really it's just unreliable movie footage because, well, okay, we have all these unexplained effects of these lights dimming and whatnot. Really, it's supposed to look supernatural, and they don't explain it at all if it is or not. And I don't know, maybe that's kind of supposed to be the point. So the mystery aspect of this film. But I don't know. I think I'm maybe reading a little bit more into that than there really is. Because I mean, if it's not supernatural, why are we having these dimmed, all these lights, which are not hard by electricity, by the way, why are getting dimmed or whatever, in sequence, there's just a lot going on. Let's reset. Yeah, the thanks. I mean, you could, I know for of several actors that got killed, or at least one for sure. They got killed by blanks, because the powder's still there to launch whatever could be in a chamber or whatever, or you just I'm not sure what was. If you fire blank point blank, I'm sure all that powder going into a skull would be pretty bad for the skull that received it. So, also I was actually I guess that's kind of how films were back then about blanks. Of course, maybe my recollection of it. Maybe I've seen this film before. They handled it this way and not, but treating it as blanks, they're harmless when in fact they can still be very dangerous. And there's a bunch of other stuff. I can see why people like this film, but I guess it is whatever. I feel like there's no one else to say about it. But you don't. I guess there's more I could say about it. My thoughts are more prepared, but I think I've probably said it enough. KG5BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay. I learned a little bit about acid that I didn't know before, and I hadn't considered the blank in the gun because I think there are people that have been injured on set with those, and so there's another plot hole. I think we're almost at the bottom of the list here. KB500, if I got the call right. What did you think of the plot of this movie from W5BLT?
Kilo Juliet 5, Look, I think I might go against the grain a little. I think it was a fun movie. I watch it almost every year. I think the inconsistencies of a horror movie are always fun to catch. That's my hot take on horror movies, is most of them are so unbelievable. It's fun to find the goofy, we'll call them just goofs in the movie. I agree with the others. The vat of acid seems incredibly convenient in the bottom of a house. I wonder what the vat is made of to be able to hold that amount of acid for that one. So, anyways, I think it's a fun movie. I'll keep it short tonight. I know we're getting late, but this is a fun movie. You gotta laugh at all of the inconsistencies, but like a lot of movies, I think it's less about the slasher and more about the plot twists and silly screaming that drives you nuts. So I'll keep it short tonight. It's KJ5 DOO.
Okay, KJ500, thanks for your comments, and sorry about getting the call messed up there. Got it corrected. I think this had a double billing with another film, and I've said this before. You go to these movies to, at that time, people either went to the drive-in or they went to the movie, and it was to hang out, and you had a couple films, sometimes 2 or 3 films that were watched at one sitting. And so they didn't have a lot of time to expand here, but maybe that was part of it as well. We're at the bottom of the list. I know I had a call, I think, wrong in there somewhere, and time for new check-ins. So anybody that I missed or wants to check in, come now, W5BLT. No new check-ins. I could have sworn I wrote down a call.
Alpha India 5, Quebec Echo.
That's okay. We're going to talk about characters. Again, I'll take check-ins again later if anybody comes in late. We have Vincent Price as Frederick Lauren, Carol Omar as Annabelle Lauren, Richard Long as Lance Schroeder, Alan Marshall as David Trent, Carolyn Craig as Nora Manning, Elijah Cook Jr. as Watson Pritchard, Julie Mitchum as Ruth Pritchard, Leona Anderson as Mrs. Slide. She's blind, and Howard Hoffman as Jonas Slide. I just wanted to go through the characters just so I could say that line. She's blind, So let's go at the top of the list here. What did you think of the characters here? Tony, NT5TM. What did you think of the characters in this movie?
Well, thank you. I think the best character was the Doors. The best line in the movie was when someone says to the young woman, the secretary or whatnot, I think Nora was her name, I've never seen so many doors. It's almost like an episode of Scooby-Doo. The basement has like 10 doors. All the bedrooms seem to have several more doors than they need for any purpose. No one ever sits down. I believe that was mentioned earlier by another participant. Everyone's just always moving, and there's so many doors. Other than that, no, I'm not terribly intrigued by any of the characters. I got interrupted here. I haven't quite finished the movie yet. So there's still room. They might grab me, but not terribly concerned about any of the characters. Although I think Jay said that was probably peroxide and not acid. If it were acid, I think they should use it to dissolve the bars on the windows or the lock on the door. We all remember from Breaking Bad, if you add concentrated acid to ferrous metal, you get a lot of hydrogen gas and you eat a lot of pits into the ferrous metal and weaken it a great deal. So I think they could have escaped. I don't know. That's the movie I wanted to see, was they all worked together to get out in T5TM.
Okay, Tony, yeah, some of them didn't work too well together, maybe, but, well, we'll see what Bill thinks here. In 5BB, what did you think of the characters and characterization in this House on Haunted Hill?
Well, thank you. This is in 5BB. We didn't learn too much about them, the characters' backstories, except maybe they worked at companies that were owned by the rich guy or something. I don't even remember if we knew where he made his money. So these characters kind of thrown in there where there's not a lot of backstory on them. We in general don't even know, do they have families or kids, or we don't really know much of that. So anyway, there was too much screaming, but I noticed in a few places they did persist in not screaming. So there was a couple of places where she actually did not scream. But, of course, they had to throw some really long screaming sessions in there. So that was, well, probably a negative, however you want to consider it. This is in 5BB. The rich guy is strangely kind of sweet in at some points. He seemed very calm and sweet and pleasant. And of course, he's very evil at other times. So he's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde personality kind of person. Again, for those that haven't seen the end of the movie, you need to see the end of the movie. Because I'm going to share something that's a plot twist. The rich guy's wife is got a boyfriend and the doctor there and the psychiatrist, and they're trying to knock off the rich guy. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a plot thing that she set this all up to have all this party and get all this money spent, but it was her husband's money. He had to fix the house up with all these special things in it, and evidently he figured out what she was trying to do. So, I don't know. Characterizations, again, as I told you earlier, the staff, I hated them. That was horrible. Everybody else, well, nobody was very believable. As Brenda said, they should have just sat there in the parlor or living area or something and not moved. Why run off to all these different rooms? That's always what kills people. Just sit there and look at each other. Nobody go to sleep. In fact, the staff should have been in there with them. Although I don't know. Were the staff going to let them out? That wasn't clear. What else? It wasn't clear if all this was automated or whether were the staff back there pulling ropes to make all these doors shut and everything? That wasn't clear at all. I guess I'm getting plot in there. But, I don't know. I guess it was a little interesting. I didn't think that any of the characterizations were too bad. It kind of kept you interested to see what was going to happen at the end of the movie. I don't know. I guess that's it. As you can see, I'm conflicted. It was kind of a fun movie at some point, but it was also pretty stupid. So that's why I'm conflicted on how I'm trying to list the characterizations and the acting. The acting, I guess, was okay in 5BB.
In 5BB, W5BLT. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, it's interesting on the plot, because I was always kind of wondering as I watched this movie, what if he didn't know, then they couldn't get Nora to kill him. I read 2 reviews on this movie, or 2 synopses. One movie reviewer synopsis had his wife and him both planning to invite these guests, but when I watched the movie, she didn't want the guests there, so that was kind of confusing to me. But then, yeah, maybe they had, we didn't get to see the party planning preparations and what happened in the preparation before the movie, them driving to the house, anything like that. So maybe they hatched the plot. David and the wife, Frederick's wife, hatched the plot on, when they realized he was inviting guests, but maybe they were going to have just the party. She was going to do it. I don't know. Interesting. And we don't know what happened with the other 2 wives. Actually, 3 wives. 2 of them were suspected dying, and 1 disappeared. Maybe Tom can enlighten us more, though. KE5ICX. Tom, what do you think of the characters and characterization of this film from W5BLT?
Oh, Bill, these characters are real characters, let me tell you. This was, I can see where Scooby-Doo got its inspiration, and it's from this movie, The House on Haunted Hill. It has to be. That's where Scooby-Doo came from. Some sort of rational explanation for the supernatural events that are taking place. The only thing is we don't have Farmer John from down the street that wanted to get the land for where the house was so he could put up his condominium complex next door to his farm, or whatever the heck it was they were trying to do. I don't know. The characters, well, Vincent Price played Vincent Price, of course, and that was really fun. All the other characters were quite forgettable. Who knows what they do or why, and what is their plan in life, and why are they, apparently they had worked with Vincent at one time or another in some way, shape, or form. But this seems overly elaborate. $50,000 for the people there to join in this little terrible party thing, which they admittedly said was pretty terrible. So, yeah, I don't know. It was strange. Let me see, what else can I say? The characters were not likable. I liked the 2 people that were the servants, although they don't know how to read a clock, and left, 10 minutes early or something, which was a bit weird, too, I would think that they would have it done better if they'd just written something up and said, this is what it's worth. You know what? You want to leave? I'm going to double it. I will double it. And then they would stay, and then their greed would cause their deaths, potential deaths. That could have made it a little more interesting, I suppose. But this plot has been done, and I think somebody else mentioned this by many times. So the characters are always the same. There's always the people who are there for money. They need money. That's why it's about to happen. But again, I'm just confused. It was an hour and 15 minutes long, and that's fine. It actually seemed a little long to me because it was thin on plot, and the characterization was minimal at best. We've never really got to know these people at all, nor did we really like them. We did have the affair towards the end type of thing, and then Vincent spills the beans at the end, like with his little monkey grinder thing that he's rotating the little levers on, and I don't know. It's just odd. Why did he do that? Would it be easier just to rent an airplane, put some sugar in the gas, and then about midway in flight the thing stalls and crashes with his wife on board? That'd be a lot more plausible, and he doesn't have to go to jail. So I guess maybe the generalization here is, and the backup, and is that, and this was mentioned too, is that horror movies don't make any sense. I remember Saturday Night Live, and it was around Halloween. This is a number of years ago, and the cast plays into the dumb teenage kids, right? And I say, "Do you want to go down in the basement by yourself?" No, I don't want to go down in the basement. Don't you think we should call the cops? Maybe we should call the cops. So they call the cops, and the cops come over and say, you're a pretty smart kid. You called us first before you got into any serious trouble. Who the heck is going to rent a house to a bunch of people that we don't know what they do, not tell them about the acid vat in the basement? What could possibly go wrong in a rental, right? And you go down, and Elisha Cook, crazy Elisha Cook, goes and opens it up. He knows the place like the back of his hand because of the death. I don't know. It's just kind of odd, the whole thing. I mentioned this earlier, but it's odd that they take these very specific and weird roles, and it's also very normal to them all. Yeah, this happens every weekend. These parties, these murder parties, they're murder parties. That's what they got to be. All right, that's all I got to say. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I think it was Elijah, the Pritchard that played Watson. I think his brother bought the house, and then he owns it now. And I'm thinking two things myself. One, why didn't he get rid of that vat of acid? And two, clean up the place a little, maybe have some remodeling done, get rid of the doors, all the doors maybe. Can't be energy efficient. And then the other thing, why does he keep staying in the house, and why did he go back for one more night? It's just very strange to me. But perhaps Virginia could shed some light on these characters. NV5F, Virginia, shed some light on these characters for us from W5BLT.
Oh, wow, thank you. Well, when you go this late in the list, it feels like everybody has said everything that could be said, but Vincent Price is always great because he's Vincent Price, and he's just so smooth and spooky, and back then he was so handsome, and I enjoyed his little moments where he got to just kind of do his thing, and my favorite was probably where he was giving everybody their gifts, which were the guns, and he said, they're all in these little coffins, and just the way he said that, I was like, that made the whole movie worth it. It was such an absurd line, and it was so Vincent Price, and then his banter with his wife, that they obviously couldn't stand each other, and I guess it's better to admit you can't stand each other than to fake it till you make it. I don't know, maybe you should fake it till you make it. But that was pretty interesting. you had to wait a little while to figure out, okay, are they serious about this? Is this how they mess around with each other? But it didn't take you very long to figure that out. And then, yeah, like Tom was saying, there's the stereotypes, you know, the screamy, hysterical lady that's going to be taken advantage of as to, you know, by the bad guys to, you know, be kind of the foil, you know, the person who's going to commit the murder. And, you know, of course, Vincent Price, he knows what's going on the whole time. And maybe that's why he even, you know, instigated the whole, like, lock-in kind of thing anyway. Like, maybe he was trying to figure out a way to expose these people that he already knew there was something going on between them. And that was a little bit, you know, like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of these kind of movies. I'm not a big murder mystery, haunted house fan, so the whole wife is obviously conspiring with someone who's in the group, you know, but then who was it? And it became, you know, it wasn't obvious to me at first because I was just kind of like, oh wow, this is different than what we usually watch. And the little guy who owned the house, I kind of wonder why he didn't just sell the house a long time ago. You know, the doctor being a nice guy who was trying to help, I guess that was a good red herring for the kind of person he was. It was kind of convenient that he happened to be a psychiatrist who was knowledgeable about hysteria, but that also made him, you know, the perfect co-conspirator because he knew how to use psychology to manipulate people. And the creepy caretaker couple, they were very stereotypical. I still think it was funny the way they, you know, tried to make, like, oh, the woman who's supposed to be blind, and I know that our illustrious net control tonight is blind, and I'm legally blind, and I have been around my share of visually impaired, other people who are visually impaired or blind, and, you know, blind people don't act anything like that, so I still think that's really funny, because she was just walking around like she was in a trance or something, like she was sleepwalking or something, and I don't know why walking around like that would make you look like you were sort of floating or gliding everywhere, so that was a little silly, but, you know, it's pretty, it had to be creepy. And then there was the matriarchal older lady who didn't tend to get hysterical, but was, you know, still kind of put upon by the weird drippy blood, which I'm not sure where that came from or how to explain it, but it did leave, the movie left room for, you know, it left a little room for there to actually be a real haunting there, because, you know, the guy was talking about the 7 people who had died there before and how that kind of stuff was going to just keep happening, and ultimately, you know, he implied that it was the spirits in the house that were basically causing all this. Who is conspiring against whom? So at the end, when old Vincent Price kind of pulled a fast one and on the conspiring couple, and they end up getting theirs, and you know, that was I don't know, his character, you know, it's kind of funny that he was, you know, you think, oh, they're getting one over on him, and of course he ends up, it backfires on them. He's the real mastermind, and you still don't know what is the house really haunted or whatever, but I thought the actors all did fine. The characters were stereotypes, you know, it was like the game of Clue. And lots of screaming from just the right people at just the right times. And yeah, pretty much cut and dried stuff, but it was good for what it was, you know. It's supposed to just be a campy kind of. It's supposed to just scare you, and I was, like I said, I was kept in suspense, and I'm pretty sensitive, so I got a little grossed out here and there, but, you know, I kept going, well, this is a black and white movie from 1959, and it's mostly cheesy, but I can imagine that back in the day it was probably pretty darn scary. So everybody did fine, and Vincent Price is always a treat. NV5.
All right, thank you, Virginia. One thing to know in the was a couple things. I think it was the Braille watch that caused the old blind lady to close that door earlier. I've owned a couple Braille watches, and sometimes I can move those hands accidentally. So maybe that's what happened with the Braille watch and why the doors were closed early. The other thing, they would use these carnival type things in the movie when you would go to the movie theater. William Castle was known for that. I'm getting a little bit ahead in the third round, but since you brought it up about the effects being scary, they would actually have a pulley system which rigged a skeleton that would float over the audience, and then kids would throw popcorn and cardboard boxes and things at the skeleton. So William Castle, the director, was known for using these type of plots and things, and maybe we'll talk about that in the third round. Brenda, WB5OZL. What did you think of the characters and characterization of House on Haunted Hill?
WB5OZL. Too much screaming, definitely. I agree with everybody. And a lot of the characters are fairly unlikable. Now, I don't understand. It's an assortment of people that didn't know each other, are total strangers. Where did this guest list come from? And what a coincidence that Vincent Price just happened to invite his wife's lover. Is he clueless about this guy? There's nothing, you know, where did she know him from? Has he never seen him before? I find that hard to believe. Usually things like that, it's somebody in your social circle, and he would have seen him at the country club or dinner or something. But they were pretty dumb. You know, I understand agree. If you need money, I understand agreeing to doing it, but you really want to keep yourself safe, which means keep the lights on. Well, they didn't have lights. Keep the candles on. Stay all together. You know, they had all these different bedrooms where they're supposed to go sleep alone. I grab a blanket, carry it downstairs, and gather together in one room and sleep on the couch, or not go to sleep at all. Maybe even better, you can sleep tomorrow. Of course, Vincent Price. I've never seen him in anything where he didn't play Vincent Price. But why not? He made a living doing that. I know he was a character actor. He had other roles too, but I just never seen any of them. It's just a delicious role, and he's so very good at it. So, let's see, other characters. The guy that owned the house, I have seen him in other roles, but I can't remember what. I'm thinking he may have been in one of the Star Trek episodes, but I just couldn't place him. It's just he has a real distinctive look to him. Okay, back to net. WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Yes, I read that somewhere, and I will have to look that up. I think I wrote it down as far as Vincent Price being in the Star Trek episode. Interesting enough as well, he loved art. If you all get a chance, look up these actors on Wikipedia. It links to them and their different biographies. and I learned a lot about Vincent Price that I didn't know, such as his love for art. He had a cookbook with his wife. He had, I think, 3 wives. And the second wife, I believe, they did a cookbook, and well, a couple cookbooks, and he had a cooking show. Was friends with Deep Purple, but really loved art and was an art miner. So anyway, lots of interesting things. And so the one thing that you'll find with Wikipedia, you can go off on tangents, learn about William Castle and Vincent Price and all the different movies he was in, as well as these other characters. Let's see. Let's go to Jay, KG5BZW. What did you think of the characters and characterization of this fine film from W5BLT?
Alright, this is KG5BZW. Well, what to say, what is it say, yeah, it's a campy film. The people that, okay, I don't know, going to this something downward. This is the K5BW, just in case I didn't just transmit. I'd say the film, I mean, can we consider, I mean, why wouldn't we consider the house as a character? You know, yeah, there's, I kind of going forward as well with all the effects and stuff, and I'm not sure there's anything I can really say that has already been said that, better. I mean, Vincent Price was Vincent Price, and Jennifer kind of remarkable. The caretakers of the house were, yeah, others have mentioned how goofy some of the those ancestors were, especially the blind woman. But yeah, I mean, it's the film is what it is. Gosh, I am drawing a blank here. I will have to say, although you could probably also agree, talk about, this is being said, whatnot, I do have to wonder what the fire were. I'm guessing it's an old house with all these bars and stuff. They didn't really explain why. It is kind of silly that it's effectively a fire trap and they just, thank goodness no fires actually occurred. And I mean, even though there were, fires all around and these candles and stuff, but maybe they just, I don't know, plastered the place with very fire-resistant paint of some sort, maybe, or I don't know. I can't think of anything. I guess echoing gets interrupted if I don't shut up. Okay. So, yeah. Other than that. You know, I just a slight correction. I did not say that it wasn't acidic. It does. That did have acid in it. It's just that a key component was the peroxide, which does. Hey, I just a little thing to correct. It's not just peroxide, it's the sulfuric acid. But anyway, you can look up peroxide online. Other than that, I can think of anything.
All right, thank you, Jay. Let's see. I know we're getting near the bottom of the list. KJ500. What did you think of the characterization in this film? W500, are you still with us from W5BLT? All right, it is 11:51. I know Elvis is going to leave the building at midnight. He doesn't want to stay when the doors get locked. So here's what we'll do. I'll open it up for the third round. If anybody has anything they want to say on the music, the visual effects, or any other comments. Also, if you're just joining us late and want to check in. So if you don't have anything to say, then you don't need to check in. But if you have something you want to add here in the third round, go ahead and give me your call sign, please, from W5BLT. For the third round, I'll ask one more time just to see if we've got anybody. We'll go once and twice. Anyone want to add anything for this third round on visual effects? Anything you learned? Want to add to our movie before Tom gives us the movie for next week? W5BLT.
NV5.
All right, I've got Virginia. We'll take one more time. Anyone else? I know exactly what it is. It's either net control for tonight or nobody wants to stay past midnight and get locked in. Virginia, go ahead with your comment, W5BLT.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have a couple comments. I was going to comment on that one gentleman's call sign. It's Kilo Juliet 5 Bravo Oscar BOO, like Halloween, and I think he said he watches this movie every year, so maybe he's a Halloween horror movie fan, and I believe that's a government issue call sign, so he lucked out with a good call sign. So I wanted to comment on that. I thought it was kind of cool. Well, since no one else had anything else to say, I guess I'll comment on the overall look of the film. The music was all right. It was pretty standard, woo kind of stuff. But I thought that the overall cinematography of this was pretty good. Sometimes with black and white movies, can be, you've only got color value to work with, and I thought that the overall composition and value and lighting of this movie was generally pretty good. And I thought it was crisply filmed, and despite all the confusing doors everywhere, the editor had a very challenging job there, and I thought overall it was looked pretty good, and it was done pretty well, and I thought all the actors looked pretty good. And the main thing about it that I thought was murky and disappointing was the exterior of the house, which is a famous, apparently a Frank Lloyd Wright house. I didn't think the interiors matched the exterior very well. It was a very kind of modern-looking house, and I also just thought the exterior of the house could have been a little more interestingly filmed. As I commented last night in the message group, it looked like the outside of some kind of 50s or 60s era medical clinic or something. I just didn't think it was a very interesting house to shoot, or it wasn't made to look very interesting, and I didn't think the exterior location shots matched the feel of the interior very well. So that's about it for me and my comments, and hope everybody has a good rest of your weekend, and happy Halloween coming up. And Bill, great job running the net. You did excellent. It's a fun net to run, and if you do a few more of them, you'll definitely get the hang of it. And I'm not sure what we're supposed to be watching next week, but I feel like I could volunteer to do it since I haven't done it in a while. So there you go, Tom. NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. I think we've got a lot of good people who can run this net when Tom wants to take a break. I'm glad to get this one under my belt and get those nerves over with. In high school, it's funny, I would have thought nothing of it, but as I get older, I start to shy away from stuff, so it's good to do this. Thanks for the correction on the call as well, Virginia, and my apologies to the gentleman with the KJ5 BOO call. I missed the letter B. So this movie also did well at the box office. Surprisingly, I think 2.5 million. Which at that time was pretty good. It led to Alfred Hitchcock doing his own low-budget film, Psycho, and they attribute this film, rightly or wrongly, they attribute it to leading to the horror genre that we have today. I don't know that I quite would go that far personally, but it led to Psycho, which led to these other movies. Interestingly enough, William Castle was a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock, and I think they maybe inspired each other. I think a lot of these people knew each other and were inspired by each other's creative works. I think I'm going to throw it back over to Tom if you want to give us next week's movie from W5BLT.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for volunteering this week. And also, Virginia, she's done several nets. And I've done a lot of these through the years, and I don't need to do more. I have as much fun listening in and participating as anyone else, so I don't mind at all. I love it when other people do these nets. So thank you for volunteering, both of you, for that matter, for doing that. I appreciate it, and I enjoy the nets just as much or more when somebody else is hosting. Next week, if it isn't pulled out of rotation, so this is a more contemporary film, I thought, what the heck? I found The Addams Family from 1991 with Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, and Christopher Lloyd. Now, it's a newer film, although that's still kind of old. I mean, we're talking 33 years, but films that have been made more recently than not have a tendency to rotate around on the free streaming thing, and the beginning of the month is sometimes when that happens, and they sometimes disappear without notice. So I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to double check it later on in the week to make sure it's still there in case November sees it go away. But that's a fun movie. I really enjoy it. I think we'll have a lot of fun. So we'll get an extra Halloween day out of it. So that's the plan. Is 1991, The Addams Family. So if it isn't, I'll let you know and send out a note with whatever the film is, or check the Facebook page. So that's what we're doing next week. KE5ICX.
Good morning. The time is 12
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. I hope it's available. I watched that once on descriptive video, so we'll see if it's available for the Addams Family for next week. If not, I know we've got a plethora of good movies to choose from. Again, my sincere thanks to everyone for participating in Annette and giving me a lot of grace today as I stumbled through at the beginning. I've enjoyed this immensely, and I figured I wanted to get back into doing net control once in a while, and what better group to do it with than all of you as friends here in the Afterglow movie group. And I've said this before, and I'll just say it real quick because I know Elvis has left the building. I get so much out of these movies with you guys, and all the holes that I miss visually get filled in, and things that I wouldn't have caught. So my genuine heartfelt thanks for doing that, and for having this group, and was glad to contribute in some small way tonight to our group. With that, you'll be pleased to know that the doors are still unlocked, and you can still leave and join us next week. 7-3 from W5BLT.
Thanks for doing the net. You did a great job. This is W5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate it. I've got to watch all you guys, even you have done the net as well, and getting to learn from everybody and watching. So I appreciate that, Brenda. W5BLT.